Sometimes talking with friends feels like role-playing. Sometimes it feels like combat. Join us at the Round Table and Roll Initiative. This is Curmudgeons and Dragons.
Hello, adventurers! Welcome to another Curmudgeons and Dragons. My name is Jason Portizo. Today I am joined by Mr. Jim Crocker.
Hey.
Josie Diaz.
I think I work too much to be an adventurer.
Isn't adventuring like a job, though?
Yes, and it's not my job. My job is washing dishes.
That's an adventure.
I guess, if you like listening to podcasts and being sweaty.
I mean, yeah. I do that normally. I do that in the car.
That's true.
I think
yeah, but you're not getting paid for that.
I do that on the way to
Jason's
work.
Career with that. That's
and confined to his room with the Rona,
the plague,
with the plague coming in through the phone. That's why he sounds like absolute shit.
That was actually a cover story. I told Jason I'm still innocent in his crawl space.
Damn it. The call is coming from inside the house.
Yeah, haven't you heard him scratching and shit?
I assumed that was one of the other people in my basement.
I trained the squirrels to have real heavy footsteps.
Is that what that is? Son of a bitch. All right, so today's episode, we had some fucked up horror stories last month, and I'm just done editing some of them now, so we'll release some of those pretty soon. But it's time, because we missed it last month, and I got sad that we missed it because I was in the middle of my move and everything, so we ended up skipping a few episodes. So we're going to come back now, and we've got RPG Wholesome stories today. You guys ready to get wholesome?
I think so.
You know it.
Who wants to go first? That sounds like me. If no one's going to say anything, I guess I'll go first. Because I'll just volunteer myself. This story comes from the r/D&D subreddit. This is by user Abriel Delay. And the title is just, what's the opposite of an RPG horror story? An RPG happiness story. User says, I was in VR chat last night, world hopping, trying to ignore the fact that I should have gone to bed 30 minutes ago, when I had the thought that VR chat could be used pretty powerfully for D&D. DMs could have control over everything from the music and lighting to the actual surroundings of the table. So I decided to walk around some D&D tagged worlds. I walk into one and there's a group there. One of the players goes, hey, username, we're about to get started. Want to join? Luckily, the world had a shelf full of pre-gens, so I just grabbed one and sat down at the table. What followed was one of the best sessions I've had in a while. The table had all the usual characters, the dude that got so into describing shit he talked over the DM, the edgelord, the one who you had to tell which dice to roll every time, etc. This might be the makings of a horror story, but it just felt genuine. The DM had clearly worked on this dungeon a while, lots of descriptions and homebrew monsters and items. It felt like an old school DM's personal dungeon sort of thing. It felt like walking into a game store and being randomly invited to sit at someone's personal table. And I think that's the crux of it. Because I was in VR, it felt like an in-person game, which I haven't had in 2 years. I know it sounds silly. I was looking around at a 2-foot-tall cat girl, a photorealistic anteater, a 9-tailed fox girl in a kimono, and an actual cartoon cat, while the TM was an 8-foot-tall plague doctor whose beak wiggled whenever he talked. But it felt a pizza and a bowl of chips away from just being a bunch of friends just hanging out, which I haven't had in a while. Paradox, if you see this, or I guess if you hear this podcast, you ran a killer game.
I have a question. What the fuck is VR chat?
I believe it might be tied directly to Facebook, but it's just that. It's a chat room with
Is it just like Second Life but in VR?
Kind of. I think VR chat itself, like with the trademark name, I think that's tied to like the Oculus Rift or the Meta Quest is what it's called now. Which I
like
have
that
a Meta
last.
Quest, and that thing is awesome. Maybe I'll start doing VR chats looking for D&D games now.
yeah,
That's like a really great idea. I love the concept of being able to just kind of be your character and be like, oh yeah, we're gonna act this out.
Plus that MetaQuest thing is really just a $300 Beat Saber machine right now. So it'd be cool to do. It'd be cool to play a second game with it.
Isn't everything I have seen and heard is that the other game worth getting for that is the Half-Life VR game that's out there.
Hadn't heard of it. I'll check it out.
So
I know a lot of people use it for like fitness stuff, and it's really good for that. I actually do have like
what's the other thing people use VR for, Jason? Fitness stuff? Is that?
Yes.
So is that what they're calling it now?
They've always called it that.
You know, like the first use any new technology is put to. So, but yeah.
I don't know what you're implying.
But yeah, no, the Beat Saber, like Beat Saber is the thing that everyone invokes as like the reason to get it and the cool thing, you know, like the kind of killer app game that makes it worth getting.
And like I said, like right now, that's the only game I'm playing on it. That alone is reason to get it. If you spend $300 and get nothing but Beat Saber, $300 well spent.
You should also get Bar Fight Simulator.
I haven't seen that one.
That sounds cool.
It's very fun, but I did punch the wall a couple times. However, it was because I was playing in a very small room and standing on a bed to make sure that I was in the frame of the VR headset.
Of course. I did play
the fan.
I did play the plank walk simulator. Where it puts you up an elevator 100 stories in the air, and then you have to.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate that.
I know I'm in my own living room and I'm never going to be safer than I am right now. But just couldn't do it. I don't do
just the idea of that.
So
I actually can't do VR.
Terrifying.
No?
The goggles make my equilibrium off, and it gives me a real bad headache.
Yeah, there's a percentage of the population that's an issue for.
So
sucks, bud. Beat Saber's dope.
So my D&D related question. My D&D related question is like,
yes, please.
This just how they kind of got in touch with each other, or like, do you have like, is there like a virtual table with a virtual character sheet? No, or are you like doing the chat room on PC, but then flipping back to a VTT or something like that? I have questions about how that tech works and how you enact it.
So I have used VR chat literally just barely long enough to make sure that my account works, and I've not actually like explored it. So I don't know 100%, but just from the story though, it sounds like there was a virtual table, and I believe that these are literally just chat rooms, but with like some sort of VR element, so you can like see a virtual person sitting at the table with you.
It might have even been just like a theater of the mind type deal.
I think the game itself was theater of the mind. And the DM does have control over things like music and visuals around you, but we're not like dropping into like a full 3D.
That's like
game.
First step to transhumanism, though, man. Is like if you can look like you're, like you said, whatever, like a 6-tailed fox person or whatever. That's
why not?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
This is virtual reality. You have as many tails as you want.
I looked up videos of VR chat on YouTube, and I think I'm actually more confused. So I'm just gonna put it away.
I definitely get that thing.
Maybe that's what I'll do my own little VR chat exploration. Maybe we'll have an episode talking about my time on there.
But I definitely get that thing where it's like just the idea of being there, like feeling like you're in the same space with people, even though it's not. It's so different than just having squares on a screen like we've got right now. That's maybe we can. And it's Jason here. So like if your whole podcasting empire takes off and get all of us VR rigs, and we can do the show. We can do this show in a VR chat room.
Oh, don't even act like I'm not already working on that.
I'm going to use my powers for evil.
Just,
right.
like if you can give me an excuse to write one of those rigs off on my taxes, then
sure.
that may be the thing that puts me over the top.
Pretty sure this show has to make money first to be able to write it off. Yeah, that's I think I'm actually gonna go try that, because I've been sitting on this story for a couple months now and waiting for us to do another one of these. And I'm gonna start checking out some VR chat, and maybe we'll come back and talk about it. It is
neat to see like the kind of possibility for where new technology can take how we think about playing D&D. That is a pretty cool story in terms of giving some
that's
possibilities.
What I was thinking when you mentioned because right now we're just looking at each other through through some webcams, and and Greg's not even on that. We could potentially play D&D just on the phone on a group call, using 1980s technology. The fact that we even have stuff like Discord and Zoom is just one more level of immersion. So like it makes total sense that the advancement of technology gives us more advancement in immersion.
It's fascinating, this thing where it's like we go like the kind of first steps of playing online are nothing like playing at a table. And everything everybody is trying to do online is get it back to feeling like you're playing at a table, as opposed to kind of trying to do some technology to this like completely different, like we're all jacking into our brains or whatever. It's like, no. The sooner we can get back to making it feel like all sitting at a table together, that's where we want to be. So
this is a tabletop game, and that's kind of specific to these kind of games. There exist games that we can all drop in and be in the same world and like have 3D renders, and those games are out there, but those are more akin to like modern advancement in
like
video gaming,
shooters and stuff.
Yeah, we could all play. There is a VR Skyrim, and we could go play Skyrim.
Excuse me.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
Josie's on Amazon right now, buying us a
have her attention. Now you have her interest.
Fuck it. I'll throw a affiliate link to a MetaQuest in this episode. So if you get inspired, might as well throw me a few bucks for it. But the point I was making was that there are games out there that feel like advancements in video gaming, and this is advancements using video gaming technology to make tabletop gaming. The biggest hurdle in tabletop gaming, aside from scheduling, is it's time and space. Okay, once you figure out the time, then you gotta get everyone together. But if the difference between getting you in North Jersey, Greg in in Pennsylvania, me in South Jersey, and Josie another fucking continent away, then getting you guys to my table is a lot easier. We can just throw on some headsets. So it's kind of cool. And I like this. This is something that when I bought my MetaQuest, that was one of the things I want to see if we can get going.
I just wish they would call it something different.
Yeah.
That's such a stupid name.
Well, the Oculus Rift was a cool name, but it got bought by Facebook. So
you can't have nice things.
Mark Zuckerberg takes everything away from us.
Yeah, but you know what? The thing used to cost like 3 times as much. It was half as good, and you couldn't find one. So now for $300, you can get a decent one. You can get it at Best Buy today.
I know,
that's what I did.
I'm going to Costco. I'm going to be in Costco tomorrow. So I'm like,
But I know my DM has one of these headsets too. So if we can find a cool way to get this going, maybe we'll play some VR games. That's my story. Who's up next?
I will go next.
Hey there, adventurers. This is Jason popping in real quick. So you heard in the episode so far that Greg is he's quarantined. He's got the Rona, and he's being quarantined away from his good microphone setup. So we had to bring him in through the phone. And it sounds I didn't think it would sound great, but it sounded a lot worse than I thought it was going to. And his story is almost unintelligible. So I'm going to pop in, read his story for him, and you can just kind of pretend that he did it, and we'll drop back in with all the commentary after that. Ready? So here is the story of My Dice Thought I Should Die, My Wife's Didn't. After killing one of the BBEG's subordinates, the guy decides he's going to use self-destruct like a Pokemon on his last legs and take us down with him. While the explosion doesn't outright kill anyone, it does knock down our rogue, though. He gets back up fairly quickly with some magical healing touches. The explosion also, 1, causes the giant basement laboratory we're in to begin collapsing and exploding, and 2, releases a bunch of gaunt, gangly armed creatures from their cells to come get us. So naturally, we start booking it for an exit. Anything will do. We walk up a fallen catwalk, jump over a small hole, and then a pillar falls down and crashes into the upper wall/ceiling, revealing sunlight. The pillar can be climbed like a tree. An escape. We're saved. Well, most of us are saved anyway. My poor level 3 sorcerer has -1 athletics. With nothing but rolls of 5s and 6s, he ain't climbing nothing. So the rest of the party skips up the pillar while I'm struggling to make even basic progress. The monsters are getting closer. The building is filling with what we started referring to as Magitech jizz, and it seems quite certain that Zeres Darnai, Tiefling Sorcerer, is about to die. Cue our party's ranger, my IRL wife, by the way, rolling an 18 on acrobatics to slide 20 feet down the pillar like she's surfing, a 17 to grab Zeres' collar and grab the rope thrown down by the party, and an 18 to hold on for dear life as the party starts pulling them up. Sure enough, once they're 10 feet from the exit hole, the entire lab explodes, sending both of our characters through the hole to safety. She's even stuck the landing, whereas clumsy-ass Zeres flopped on his face. Probably the most epic moment of the game so far, and even one of the most epic moments I've seen in any game I've played in. I'm still buzzing from the aftergame high. That was posted by user TieDie904 on RPG Glory Stories. Back to the show.
That's like That's super cute.
It is super cute, and
I love a strong hot wife.
don't we fucking all? And it proves that sometimes our dice are out to get us, and sometimes our dice want us to do cool fucking shit.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I like the dice are helping tell the story along with everybody else, and that's really cool that sequence of rules worked out like that did. I'm like, I always, when I hear that, I always wonder, like, what was the DM's plan if that went wrong? Like, did they have some kind of an equally cool thing, or would that have been a horror story if there had been a couple of ones or, you know, or threes or whatever in there? Or
if one roll went different,
would it have been like equally cool and epic, just with a different outcome? And it kind of sounds like it would have been that second thing from all the description that he was given.
Yeah.
Well, the neat part is we don't have to know because it worked out pretty well.
Exactly.
No need to dwell on the what
And
ifs.
that's why we play the game. Yeah.
The important thing is they're all alive, at least at the time of that writing, until more bullshit happens.
But that's also the other thing that's super cool there is that shows why it's cool in D&D that you have characters that specialize in stuff. And some of them, like one or two characters are really great at stuff when the others aren't. And you, if as a DM, you can set up those situations where the whole point of it is the fact that ranger is awesome at acrobatics is what saved the ass of, you know, that artificer or whatever that was terrible at it. Those moments are just great when you can, you know, have somebody's skills help somebody out that doesn't have them, and set that up for everybody. And it does sound like kind of the DM had that in mind with how the whole thing was collapsing and giving people those opportunities. It's pretty neat.
Are you insinuating that a well-balanced party that complements each other is a good thing?
Well, it's a wholesome thing.
Sounds fake. I don't believe it.
Sounds fake.
But yeah, like, especially since he doesn't specify it as like it wasn't a natural 19. Like, I'm sure the plus 3 or 4 they have in acrobatics at that level definitely played a factor into getting that high of a roll.
Sure.
Josie joked about the hot wife thing, but one thing that, like, so there's so many horror stories that are like the girlfriend ruined the game or his partner ruined the game and stuff like that. And to like get reinforced, like there's a reason why like a good game that you play with your family or people you love is even better than just playing with your friends. And hearing some of those wholesome 100%. Stories is great. So yeah.
You don't have to be the hero all the time. Sometimes it's okay to be the damsel in distress.
Doubly for the fellas. Josie, what you got for us?
All right. So mine is not from Reddit. Mine is a tweet that was shared on cheeseburger.com.
Awesome.
And it is called...
Remember when that was like the pinnacle of the internet?
I remember.
It was just cats asking for cheeseburgers.
I Can Has Cheeseburger was an art form.
Could you imagine like early internet was like hamster dance and I Can Has Cheeseburger, and late internet is like planning Capitol riots? Like what happened in the middle there? It's like yada yada yada.
Remember the Badger song? Do you remember Albino Black Sheep?
The Badger song is still good. Remember We're Going to Kenya? I can still sing the whole thing. We're not going to. We're going to listen to your story. Tell me about your awesome cheeseburger story.
So, the story is called Heartfelt Story of Grandma's Love for Dungeons and Dragons.
Now I'm sad.
Yeah. So, I don't know if this is still an active Twitter account, but it is from Antoine H, which is at ANTNHZ. My grandmother passed away. Her funerals were today, but here I'd like to talk about the most important thing I couldn't spend too much time on in her eulogy: her love for Dungeons and Dragons. She started very late, at 75, only a little over a year ago. One day I simply asked her if she'd like to try, and like always, when presented with something new, she said, of course. So we grabbed my player's handbook and built up a character together. My grandmother chose to be a forest gnome because they seemed the most happy of the races, and she really liked the fact that she could talk to small animals. She went with druid just to double down on the animal friendship theme. When we went through the character traits, I asked her, do you want to be a boy or a girl? And she answered right away, I've been a girl my whole life. It'd be fun to try being a boy for once. So we're making her character sheet, rolling her stats. She gets a 17 and puts it in wisdom. And choosing her first spells. And I ask her if she has a name in mind. I don't know. I'll find one by tomorrow. That night, she does something that even I never expected. She goes on the internet and reads every piece of lore she can find about gnomes. She barely knew how to Google, and yet here she was, browsing Wikipedia articles and D&D fan sites. The next day, right before we play for the first time, she reveals her name to the party. Terminator. Terminatur. Oh, and she'd also drawn
I was
him.
not expecting that.
And it's a very cute drawing. Hold on 2 seconds. I'm going to share it with you.
Link in the show notes. Go check out
gnome character.
Go check out Terminator. Oh my god, it's adorable.
Absolutely precious.
This is I'm just going to do just a precursory description of this. So I don't know if I'm getting gnome out of this, but it's a very short character. What looks like a large knife handle coming out of the pocket. Curled shoes with bells, kind of like Will Ferrell and Elf. Hair is like straight up and wavy. It looks a little Medusa-ish.
I was thinking that too, or it looks like macaroni.
Yeah. And eyes and like a smirk, but it looks like kind of like an emoji smiley face. This does not look like a face, face. And then surrounding is a duck, what looks like possibly a ladybug, and some grass and some stuff in the sky.
I thought that was a mushroom.
That could be a mushroom. That's probably a mushroom. I was going by the duck has stick legs, so I thought the ladybug might have stick legs as well. But that could be I think you're right on the mushroom. That could be a duck familiar. Yeah. Okay, continue.
Thing is, she didn't know about the Terminator, although she probably heard the name somewhere and it came back subconsciously. She doesn't speak English, so she has no idea about the connotation. She made up the name from termite because she liked the idea of gnomes living in burrows, and nature because she was a druid. Both words are the same in French, and she dropped the final E because, I kid you not, it's cooler.
I mean, she's not wrong. I didn't think Terminator could get cooler.
So we start playing. It's a new campaign starting at first level, and I decided to approach it like a series of one-shots so that players could come and go without having to bend the story when a character is absent. Essentially, they're adventurers sent on missions by their guild. The party is made up of a Kalashtar sorcerer, a half-elf ranger, and our little gnome druid, who never goes anywhere without his goose friend. They chose to undertake the cleansing of a reportedly haunted house, and that's when I knew my grandmother would fall in love with RPGs. They explore the house a bit, and in the night, get attacked by the kitchen table, who turned out to be a mimic. My grandmother's genuinely scared by the light horror movie vibes, but she's smiling through it all. My grandmother loves it, so much so that sometimes she has to close her eyes to calm herself down. Now, I'm not a particularly good nor experienced DM, but she made me feel like I was Chris Perkins or Matt Mercer. Unwilling to get too close to the mimic, she casts for the first time a cantrip that would become her signature spell, Thorn Whip.
It's a good spell.
From then on, it's actually one of my favorite spells. Whenever I play a bard, I always have that. From then on, she would use Thorn Whip anytime she could or when she didn't know what to do. She loved that spell. So anyway, she casts it and makes her very first attack roll. Nat 20.
Of course.
Amazing.
The whole table went wild, by which I mean the players, not the mimic. It couldn't have been more perfect. Thus, Terminator was born. The party ended up establishing this house as their home base, and she made it a home. Over sessions, she used Druidcraft to literally grow a new kitchen table where the mimic had been, and planted a vegetable garden where she invented a new fruit. That fruit, that she named Seeple, would months later serve as a bargaining chip with fairies that were tending to a fae orchard. It eventually led to Terminator becoming a member of a multiplanar ecology group, the Circle of the Green Hand. I invited Terminator to be part of this group by sending him a letter in real life to my grandma's address. She was ecstatic, and she answered in the same way by sending me a letter written entirely in character. She covered it with old stamps representing trees and dragons. This is so cute. If you scroll a little further down, there's a picture of the stamped envelope and the note.
I'm looking at that now. That's in the link as well, so make sure you click that link and read along.
Yeah, you can really get the visuals. It looks like it's written in French, so I will not be attempting. But you can definitely take a look at it. It's very cute. All right, so the story continues. The last few months were rough. She'd been fighting against pancreatic cancer, and things had taken a turn for the worse. Sometimes the pain and exhaustion from chemo were too much to bear, and she couldn't play. She still did it when she could, though, and updated her drawing. She colored it in, and it's very cute. The thing in his hand, it looks like, is a ukulele, or maybe a tiny guitar. And his hair is blonde. And it was definitely a mushroom.
Well, now it's a mushroom.
Yeah. That's the same three things in the picture.
Yeah, I know.
It's the goose, the mushroom, and the bit of grass. But it's all colored in now. It's very nice. The colors of Terminator's outfit were inspired by the comic book character Beccassine, because she had loved her since she was a kid. Beccassine is a national treasure and one of the most recognizable characters in France, even though she's virtually unknown outside of her homeland.
Can confirm.
It looks kind of like olive oil from Popeye.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I like the vibe. By the way, we decided that canonically, Terminator looks like Dice Camera Actions Simon as drawn by the amazing Gen Kaiko in this picture, with curlier blonde hair and a Beccassine-like color palette. And there's a precious little cherub of a gnome.
The shoes match.
I really dig it, actually. I would wear that outfit in a heartbeat.
Don't you have that outfit?
The bells and all.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if you didn't, honestly.
The bells are the best part. I almost forgot to mention, my grandmother's also the one who came up with the party's name. In this campaign, my players all wear real necklaces with little trinkets that they found in their adventures and that I hand out to them to reward them. Medals, rings, monster teeth.
See, that's neat.
This is such an intense campaign.
Right?
This is so cute.
I like a DM that gives out little party favors.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I didn't want to interrupt before, but that reminds me, the whole letter thing reminds me in Dungeons and Daddies when they did the Deck of Many Things.
Oh my God.
Who literally traveled
those made me
to their
cry.
houses to give them actual like envelopes with playing cards in them to see what they pull.
Then there was the letters from the mummies too.
Yeah.
Those were beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, sorry. We just love a good podcast, you know?
Yeah, don't forget you're on one right now.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm getting back to there's pictures to look at. Listen, I got a little distracted. It's fine. My grandmother's was particularly overloaded. So one day she comes up with a potential name, Les Bijoutiers Fantastiques, the fanciful jewelers. I apologize to anyone who speaks French.
The entire country of France.
The entire country of France. I am so sorry. I know I pronounce French words like they're Yiddish. It's fine. It was so funny and unexpected. Everybody loved it at once, and they've been calling themselves it ever since, often shortened as BF. Less than a month ago, the cancer took over her whole body. She was hospitalized and stayed there until her passing on Wednesday morning. The last thing she told me was never change, never lose your family spirit, and keep on playing Dungeons and Dragons. So the BF will go on without their druid. And in all my future campaigns, players will hear of a legendary planar traveler gnome with a goose on his head that gives out strange fruit, cracks his whip, and disappears. Here's to the best grandma in the world. I miss her already.
No.
And then there's pictures of her with
and
her
he
little
pays the
character
grandma
sheet.
tax. There's grandma
she's
pictures
adorable.
In here. All right.
Amazing.
So again, check out the link that's in the show notes. You have to read this along with us because these necklaces look awesome. Her drawing is adorable. And I also miss your grandma. I never met her. And now I'm sad.
very happy that he got to experience that kind of, I don't know. I think that you get like a kind of deep connection with the people that you play Dungeons and Dragons with, especially if they're family members.
Not to mention connection with your grandma.
Yeah. And there's just something weird about, I can't picture my grandma playing Dungeons and Dragons. I can't even entertain the thought of explaining it to her. I think her eyes would glaze over and she'd go, that's nice.
I think you're underestimating the need and the drive for grandmothers to take an interest in the things that make you happy.
There are 10 of us, so
sure.
She spreads it out pretty evenly.
I am number 4 out of 17 grandkids.
Incredible.
Plus now 2 great grandkids. So there's 19 of us. I'm number 4.
Jesus Christ.
And as soon as my grandmother heard that I was working for a podcast agency and then I took an interest in podcasting, she went out and found out what a podcast was.
That's adorable.
And everything we watched on TV together was her asking me, is this a podcast? I'm like, no, this is Golden Girls, Grandma, but this is, we could do a podcast about Golden Girls. You want to record one?
Oh, I don't think my grandparents even have a computer.
Oh no, she wasn't allowed anywhere near a computer, but the thing would melt as soon as she walked near it. But I mentioned last week I had a death in the family recently, and I just, as a recent grandmother loser, this story was super nice for me to hear.
I know how to pick them.
Yep, and I miss mine very much. That was a very, very wholesome story, almost too wholesome. Now I'm a little sad, but. Jim, you got yours?
Yes, mine is fairly modest. It's not that long.
Tell me a story, Jim.
Yes, I can do that. So this also comes from our D&D Reddit, and it has that same Game Tales tag on it, which if you're kind of out there in the world looking for something like wholesome stories or just kind of anecdotes about D&D games, that's the tag to look for in that D&D Reddit. So this is by user Endizen, Endizen, and they have the DM tag next to their handle. So context, I DM for my roommate and 3 friends, and it's our first consistent game together. There hasn't been a whole lot of role-playing so far, especially my roommate. His half-orc PC is mostly excited for combat. And so he has kind of done this as like a bulleted list here. 1, Ugrath the half-orc buys a loot as a last-minute flavor idea because why not? 2 sessions later, we're deep in a cave and find an ochre jelly. 3, Ugrath rolls a nat 1 insight check on the big jelly, thinks it's super friendly. Yeah, like I'm not a big fan of the like nat 1 means it's worse, but you know, whatever. That's that's not an unreasonable thing to do there. It's fun. Yeah, and if everybody agrees that that's how the game is going to go, then because it leads to this. 4, Ugrath rolls a nat 20 performance check to make it actually friendly.
Ooh.
Cut to me stammering for a second. Cut to me stammering for a second before figuring out how to honor this and keep the encounter. 5, it's an ochre jelly. It can split in 2 as a reaction to slashing or lightning damage. Why not a rift in personality?
Ooh.
Okay.
6, now there's a friendly slime named Gugon, pronounced Goo, G-O-O, Gone, G-O-N-E, Gugon, living in our paladin shield, giving him resistance to acid damage.
Amazing.
Edit. I forgot to mention
Awesome.
the party arguing over whether to keep Gugon, what to do in the fight, the elf feeling disgusted over it all, was the true encounter in the end. I prepped a simple combat because our group couldn't stay long last night, but honestly, it turned out to be the best session for role-playing we've had so far. Smiley face emoji. So.
Amazing. I like his name.
Yeah, and that's fun because really, in the end, all that is a magic shield. but it's a really cool way to get to a magic shield without just handing somebody a magic shield.
And especially if it talks to them now. Now you got a wisecracking sidekick.
Yeah,
as long as you can cast speak
even
with
if
animals.
it doesn't, it's still, like that strikes me as the kind of thing where, like, I've played in games where, like, you get so attached to an NPC that, like, you'll willingly take all kinds of damage to keep the NPC from getting hurt. And I can see, keep the rust monster away from the shield that has Kugan in it, like that kind of thing. So, yeah.
I was trying very hard a few weeks ago to keep this one kobold alive so that he could be my best friend. And our artificer killed him.
Yeah,
and I've not forgiven him. And I have not forgiven him for it yet. Granted, he was never going to be our friend. He was kind of a dick. But but I can change him. I can change him.
You can fix him.
Yeah.
Jason.
Astounding.
Jason, you can fix him.
I can fix him.
But I also I love I dearly love the logic behind, well, if it can split in two, maybe it can really split in two. Become one, bad ochre jelly and one good ochre jelly, and then we'll adopt the good ochre jelly. But the line that he says there, cut to me stammering while I figure out how to honor this and keep the encounter, was really that's some good DMing. That's like, oh, they've done this really interesting thing. It shouldn't like set this precedent where they can one shot and get around the encounter completely.
Right.
So,
we're not treating this like a charm.
Exactly. They're still going to have to fight the other half of it or whatever, but this could go some interesting places. And sure enough, it did. So that kind of, that balance, I love reading that stories where people balance between doing something fun, just on the spot like that, without having it, go completely off the rails in terms of mechanics or breaking the game or anything like that.
Yeah, that's great mechanics. That's great narrative. That's just good gaming.
Yeah, yeah.
Good for that DM.
Yeah,
and they got a Gugon sidekick out of it. I love it.
Gugon is such a great name for that. That's
I would have gone goof off myself, but whatever. That's our horror. No, not horror stories. That's our wholesome stories. I'm so used to horror stories.
These are our wonderful wholesome stories.
That was super wholesome. This was all wholesome today. Now I feel better.
I feel like this episode really gave me the warm fuzzies.
Wholesome episodes always do. And I just wish there was more of them so we could do more of these episodes.
And when we start talking about
if you have a wholesome story, hint, hint, wink, wink.
When we start talking about ochre jellies and green slimes and black puddings and stuff like that, that's, that's calling back to the whole dishwashing experience that Josie was going through. So
yes. If you have a wholesome story, really any story, you can send that on over to us. Our email is curmudgeonsanddragonspod@gmail.com, or you can go to curmudgeonsanddragons.com/contact and get in touch with us a few different ways there. There's a little voicemail thing too. You can even just tell us your story. And if we like it, we'll put it on the show.
Yeah, the horror stories are a dime a dozen. They're wicked easy to find, but good wholesome stories are.
Listen, I'll take your horror stories
a lot thinner on the ground. So send us your stories about why gaming is awesome. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah. We actually had a listener submitted horror story sent into us, so we'll do that one very soon.
Very nice.
Yeah, right.
Very nice.
So that'll be on definitely this month. I don't know exactly what week, but that definitely going to come out this month. But that's it for today. So Josie, Jim, Greg, guys, thanks for joining me.
You bet.
CurmudgeonsandDragons.com. Go check out all of our stuff. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
I'm still in your house.
Get out of my house.
Thank you for listening to Curmudgeons and Dragons. Please share this with your favorite adventurers. Leave a review on Apple and follow us on social media. All links can be found at curmudgeonsanddragons.com. Practice safe adventuring, my friends.
This has been a JTP Audio podcast. Thanks for listening.